Hey, I'm back, and I've been playing a game called the Callisto Protocol. I've played all the way through it, and at first this game does deliver a pretty fantastic impression. It feels like a beautiful sort of iteration on the themes and the ideas of the spooky and seminal Dead Space franchise. Glenn Schofield heads up Striking Distance Studios, who are the makers of this game. It was published by Krafton, who has made all their billions working under the PUBG brand and license there. But this is a wholly original tale. It's about this space courier named Jacob Lee, played by Josh Duhamel, who has been ferrying this dangerous substance between moons around Jupiter and gets caught up in this intrigue that happens on this outer world prison where all of these prisoners start to become infected, and the ship crash lands and you are surrounded by infected prisoners and robot sentries and stuff that are out to get you, and you try to survive. And at first it's really freaking cool. It looks amazing. The details, you can see the steam across the lighting systems in the game, and the lighting looks amazing, and the texture details on the walls and all of the fine details on the costuming of the different characters and the way that they model Josh Duhamel. I mean, it looks like Josh Duhamel is on your screen there and you can control him. It's like you got a Josh Duhamel action figure and you can do whatever you want with him as this character in the game. And it was impressive. I was like, wow, man, why is this game? Because I knew that it had already launched, because I've been slammed with all types of games. I've been playing all kinds of stuff. And so this one was in the queue, and I got to it as I could, but I knew when it launched that a lot of people were not super happy with the Callisto Protocol, and I was wondering why the hell that was. And eventually I found out why this game has been getting scores as low as it has. And I'm not going to score mine just yet right now, but I definitely want to say that this game is like the ultimate Catfish video game of 2022. It looks like a 10, but it's not a 10. It looks like it's some kind of beautiful enterprise, some exquisitely crafted brand new idea and this concept in the survival horror genre that's just going to electrify you all the way through. And there are some really cool ideas. My favorite idea in the game is the physicality of the combat and this sort of move towards making every encounter feel incredibly stressful and visceral. Like you really do feel like you're in the boots of this character as you're having to swivel away from attacks. And I found myself playing the game because what you do is you move left or right on the thumbstick, and it's not timing based, it's kind of your defensive stature to move away from somebody striking at you. And I found myself in my chair doing that all the way through the game, which is good. That's good game design. If you're actually physicalizing the way that you're playing it, it's like, yeah, they're onto something there. That feels good. You pull back to block, which is a little cumbersome and a little bit clunky because that's also the way that you would back away from something as well. So it just feels a little incongruous to attach all of that movement to the thumbstick. But I get the idea there, and I did like it. It kind of turns it into like a fight night or a Super Punch-Out kind of experience when you're up against bad guys. And it also is a smart way to manage the amount of bad guys that you're going to encounter. So you will get swarmed, but you're not going to get, Arkham Asylum swarmed. You're not going to have, you're not going to play Sifu all of a sudden with all kinds of bad guys around you. And that's purposeful. They're trying to make those encounters kind of meaningful. It also leads to lots of clunkiness, though. It leads to lots of times where you are getting killed because you can't swivel out of the way of this guy enough because this guy's coming at you from the side and he's stabbing you in the head. And then later on, as you start to get the feel of the mechanics of that combat system, which I did find fulfilling, does feel good when you start to get it and you feel powerful with it. The game introduces this whole new thing where tentacles starts erupting out of stomachs and things, and then it's like a whole new wave, so now you have to swivel and beat them with the electric baton, but you also have to shoot the guy quicker if the tentacles are out, and it's so arbitrary, and sometimes you're just swiveling, slamming, and shooting, but it's not quite enough, and it staggers back, and then the tentacles are popping, and then it comes again, and it just gets again, so there's growths, new mutations start happening, and that felt incredibly cheap, because you just couldn't get that sense of ownership of the moment, like sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, and so there were a lot of questionable, cheap cheap deaths over the course of the game. And then there is also a ludicrous checkpoint system that doesn't even work with the way that you save the game. So you can't save where you are in the game. When you save to the checkpoint. And many times the checkpoint will be behind when you encounter one of the power-up vending machines that you will find littered across the prison and the space stations and stuff that you're going to navigate through in this game. And so you'll do all of the purchasing and selling of things and leveling up and buying, ammo for your different weapons. And you've got shotguns and assault guns and a shotgun pistol and pistols that, the typical stuff, and you can upgrade them in some interesting ways. I liked all that too. But sometimes you'll save right before you do all that, and you got to do it all over again before you get to the guys that killed you that time. And then if they kill you again, guess what? You got to go back to that vending machine again, do all that, and then get to the guys. And if they kill you again, guess what? You got to go back and then go back into the vending machine and do all that. And then you'll save and you'll go, well, if they start me again, I'll save from here. And then they went, nope, you got to go back to the vending machine. You got to do all that again. And then you go forward. And then if you die, you go back and you know what I'm saying. So eventually it's just like throw the controller down and go, what did anybody play test this freaking thing? This is ridiculous. And I even tried quitting out of the game, rebooting the game, loading my save, and nope, I was behind the vending machine and that happened many times throughout the game. And I just thought, that is pathetic. That is just awful. The other thing where this game absolutely destroys itself is in its linearity and its lack of exploration. It's really detailed, beautiful environments, but talk about taking you by the throat and guiding you through the game. It almost felt like a House of the Dead. It felt like a rail shooter, like a light gun shooter, where it's like you're going to go to this corridor, you're going to turn that way, you're going to go look this way, you're going to look that way, that thing's going to pop out and scare you, you're going to shoot that, and you're going to do that. And it honestly takes all the terror out of it, because you know that there's only this direction you can go. You're only going to go down this way, you're going to pivot this way, and there's also this rinse and repeat kind of quality to saving when you get to choke points, when there are just too many huddled masses around you, slicing and dicing and mutating and killing you, and so you'll restart, and then it's like this memorization routine that pulls and zaps all of the terror of the experience. And that's really disappointing, because that's what they were selling. That's what they catfished us with, because when the creatures catch you and pounce on your head and squish you and stab you in the eyeballs and rip you apart, it's well done. Like the animations and the gore of all that, it's disgusting and it's well done. But you can skip through those things, so you don't have to see those animations over and over again. But it isn't as challenging and freaky and scary as it should be, because there is this bump kind of quality to the way that all of it is doled out. You just know that you can maybe look down that corridor and walk 15 feet and grab something, and something will pop out, and you'll kill that, and then you'll turn around and go right back where you were coming from. You're just going to continue forward and just drive forward throughout the game. And so that becomes incredibly disappointing and tedious, because you definitely do want to explore this world that is crafted. The game also circles back on itself, so you see a lot of the same stuff over and over again, and it just doesn't escalate and build on itself and kind of smartly transform and give you real growth in the experience. It really feels, at the end of it all, like the game needed at least 6 more months. It needed a lot more time to kind of continue baking and testing, and to add those embellishments and those bits into the game that make it feel like it's more than just the core path. Because all you get is the core path. That's it. It's very much like an interactive movie. It's like, go through the thing. You're scared for the first hour or so because it's all kind of new and you're testing out how to play the thing. But after that, that's it. It's very much the same way all the way through the game. You just know how to play it better. And fumbling for the different weapon choices is ludicrous in this game as well. The whole system there is terrible. You'll be caught up in the middle of a battle and you'll be out of bullets, because, getting out of bullets is a big part of any survival horror game. But just switching weapons is just so freaking tedious as bad guys are pouncing on you all over the place. And I just was screaming at the screen playing it that way. I got sick of restarting from the wrong place. And ultimately, I just felt incredibly detached. I'd say there's a great 4 hours of interesting stuff in this interactive movie that Striking Distance put together, but it doesn't really hold your interest all the way through. So even though it's not a long game, it feels like a long game. It's honestly, it's a short game, and it's not worth the purchase price because it is so short. But it also feels like it overstays its welcome because the meat isn't there, and the surprise and the investment in interesting new ideas aren't there. And what's terrible about it all is that the foundation absolutely is. The elements to really take it to another level, to take that Dead Space concept to a full another level, absolutely are there. They just didn't do it. They didn't deliver. And I don't know why the decision had to be that it comes out in December and gets overlooked, honestly, because of the hype and the end of the year stuff, and people are just saturated with so many choices, and so much of the November games are still on people's minds. And that's what it was for me. And my job is to look at all of this stuff. But finally I got to it, and I was enjoying it until I didn't. And it breaks my heart to say this. I saw a lot of 6 out of 10s out there, and I think a lot of people were absolutely bang on with this. 6 out of 10 from me for the Callisto Protocol.